How do I know where I am? It's a lovely day here in Sao Paulo, and I want to go out and get a coffee at a place a couple of blocks away and then find my way back. Easy enough, but what's going on inside my brain to help me keep track of where I am? Our lab, along with work of many others, has found a few types of nerve cells in our brain whose main function seems to be to keep track of where we are. The first type, discovered long before my time, is called place cells. As the name suggests, these cells are active every time we are in a specific location. So every time I walk past this playground, a place cell will be activated, pinging away in my brain. It will remember that mural and be active whenever I'm near it. There will be other cells for when I'm by this building and more for when I go past this coffee kiosk. But the trouble is, the place cells don't tell you where you are relative to other places, how far you are from them, and in what direction. They're only active when you are at these places. Your brain needs a way of measuring distances and directions to relate locations to each other. For that, we have another group of cells that we discovered in a brain region near the area that contains the place cells. We call these cells grid cells. Our group discovered that these cells, the grid cells, fire every time you move a certain distance and direction through space on a triangular grid, for example, every 3 meters. Different grid cells have grid patterns that are offset from each other. That helps the cells to cover all possible locations and to give you fine-grained information as you move between locations in the environment. We later discovered that grid cells were grouped in modules of cells that all fire at the same spacing. Different grid cells created grids at different scales. There might be some that track my movement on a 30 centimeter grid and some that have periods of up to 10 meters. One of the clever things about your brain is that it can combine all these modules to give you a very precise location. A very precise location of my favorite coffee shop. A limitation of the early work on place cells and grid cells is that navigation is not really based on the activity of individual cells only. Hundreds to thousands of cells work together to form internal maps. We have recently been working on understanding how different grid cells are linked together to form such maps of the environment. Rather than looking at one grid cell at a time, we can now record from whole populations of cells and compare how each one fires as the rat moves around. So what we discovered after we were able to record the activity of many hundreds of neurons at the same time is that those neurons form an internal map in our brain that explains where we are on a two-dimensional surface of the world. But what we also observed is that as we move across this map, the activity of the grid cells actually repeats over and over again. So you have one cell firing, another cell firing, yet another cell firing, and then it begins again, same cells over and over again. So the fact that the cells repeat means that the map is periodic, it's circular. It's circular in two directions, and for that reason it actually means that the shape of the internal map that we have in our brain has the shape of a torus, a bagel or a donut if you want. So the activity in the brain among the grid cells moves around on two axes like this or like this. And the advantage of that is of course that on such an torus-shaped or bagel-shaped map in the brain, you never get to an end. You never fall outside the map. So in this map, you may ask, what happens when you get here? When you get here, This will not happen when you move around on something that is continuous in both directions. So the map inside the brain is like that. Combining the grid and place cells with other groups of cells that track my head direction, and still more that detect boundaries like walls or edges, our brain produces a very reliable internal mental map anchored in the real world. Our movements in physical space are mirrored by movements on the internal maps. In this way, I can find my way back to the hotel.